Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode, and this episode is very important because we will discuss on IoT for healthcare applications. We have our expert panelists, Mr. Dan, Mr. James Eid, as well as we have our IT specialist and he's a excellent tech analyst, Professor David Smith. I want to start from Mr. Dan. I think he is a healthcare professional, and he has some strong idea about futuristic technologies and everything. So, Mr. Dan, how do you want to analyze this IoT for healthcare application?
Well, it's true. I do have a certified personal trainer degree from the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I love the title of the woman who signed it. It says Director of Planetary Fitness, and I thought, wow, planetary fitness. Now there is a concept we should all embrace, and we can embrace this using, the internet, some of the great technologies, and of course, as you mentioned, IoT. It's an acronym that means Internet of Things. And this is the smart device regime where more and more things are becoming connected. They have digital RFID tags, which is a radio frequency identifier tag. That's a very interesting technology. When you used to go to the library and you would walk out, an alarm would go off and they'd say, "Oh, your book has not been checked out properly." That's an example of RFID tag in the book. So they had to run a magnet over it, and that would make it so that it would not set the alarm off when you left. Now, this technology has gotten much more advanced lately. Now, these little tags, it's interesting. They don't even have to be a battery. They don't need power. They use actually the reflected power of the radio signal that hits them. It sends out a passive reflection that can be picked up by a very sensitive receiver. So anyway, that's getting down in the, the weeds, maybe a little too much. But I think what is the complement of IoT that doesn't get talked about enough is location intelligence. And this is known as GIS, Geospatial Information Systems. And the leader in this field is a very interesting company called ESRI, Environmental Systems Research Institute. The same guy and his wife who started it in 1969, now still own it, and they're the biggest supplier of location-based intelligence software. And this is basically like a digital map that can have an infinite number of overlays. If you wanted to track, how many people are exercising in your neighborhood, you could make a layer on a map for that, and maybe you could all meet at the park and do some exercise together. So there's amazing health benefits from using GIS. And I should mention there's an open source version called QGIS, qgis.org. It's almost as good. Some people think it's better than the commercial one that Esri puts out. But those are the two leaders in the GIS field, which is complementary with the Internet of Things. Now, there's all kinds of great digital technology for fitness, which I'm familiar with. I recently bought a little pulse oximeter. It clips on the end of your finger, and it talks to your smartphone. And this will read your oxygen saturation in your blood, and it'll give you your heart rate. And these are two very useful statistics to track. You want to measure it right when you wake up as a baseline. You take your pulse reading, and this would also get your temperature and your blood saturation with oxygen. And with the pandemic problem, this is actually something you really want to keep track of, because they are finding you can diagnose early populations just by monitoring things like the temperature. It just changes like 1 degree over a period of like a week. They can say, wow, people who came down with COVID also had this change. So you can get an early warning alarm that you may want to have yourself checked out for immune support. You might be coming down with something. Another great way to use this for public health is they can actually track the sewage in locations with sensors. And you can say, oh my gosh, we've got a concentration of sick people on this part of the neighborhood because we tracked the pipes with the human effluent going through it. And it sounds a little wonky, but it's actually a very realistic way to, quarantine very surgically. I think we've kind of over responded to. We used kind of a butcher knife when we could have used a scalpel on some of these lockdowns and some of these pandemic responses. We could have had a lot more nuanced response. And IoT and GIS are two technologies that would be very useful in a pandemic. So those are just some initial thoughts about public health and how that interfaces with our new digital technology. And I'll have more to say later. I'll throw it back to you, Sharif.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Jamsid.
Thank you, Sharif. A great topic, great lead, Dan. There are so many benefits to the digital aid. And just to piggyback on what he was saying, I use my iPhone for my step count because I can track it during the day, and I know that I've not been active enough, that I have to get out, go for a walk, do something physically. I can track all sorts of things, including my weight, and you can have this baseline that you sort of keep track of in your mind. But when you see it on a graph, you go, oh, okay, this has been trending up a little bit at a time, and it's time for me to take action. And these are just feedback that you can get from your devices. And I love the idea of the oxygen level being part of that. There's also things that affect your sleep that you can track. So all of these things were, they may have been imaginable, but they weren't available not that long ago. And they're available today, and they're all very useful and productive. And there are so many other medical advances that are based on data that we didn't have before, and we translate it into information that we can use to improve our lives, the day-to-day activities in our lives, and our basic health, and to, as Dan mentioned, monitor small, subtle changes that might be early indicators of something more troublesome down the road if we do not take action. And as the old saying is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we've been doing a lot of pounds of cures when we could have been doing some preventions. And I go back to just vaccinations. Get vaccinated if you can. These are the types of things that you are no longer as susceptible of getting sick, and you are no longer capable of making others sick. And so if you can do these things, why wouldn't you? But these things are available. That doesn't mean that people will use them. And also, when we go along these lines, we also have to ask, who has access? Yes, I have a smartphone. Everybody that's in my neighborhood has a smartphone. But there are many people who do not have access to smartphones, do not have access to this biofeedback. And so we have to think about them. How do we make it available to them? And then once we get into the question of access, we also have to ask ourselves, who decides who has access? Because the further we go along down this road of digital information, we want to be thinking of universal access. We have to always keep that in mind, because if we solve this problem for a few, we aren't solving the problem for the many. And so we must always ask ourselves, who has access? Who decides who has access? And think about universal health. So the planetary fitness is something I wrote down, and I'm going to steal from Dan in the future. Thanks, Sharif.
Thank you. Yes, Professor David, you are from Austin and you are running tech companies. So how can IoT benefit the healthcare industries? If you give some detailed example and analysis for our audience.
Well, Sharif, I'm actually the founder of one healthcare company that produced the first platform that was certified in the United States by Health Human Services. And the Internet of Things type of device is a very important part of that platform. But let's pull back just a second. As you look at medical devices and medical Internet of Things, there's multiple categories to understand. One of them is you have the hospital grade, the clinic grade medical devices. Many of these are now connected to the Internet, so technically they are the Internet of Things, but they are the professional grade with much different type of reporting capabilities. These type of devices have to meet multiple ISO certifications. They have to meet HIPAA in the United States. They have to meet others in different parts of the globe. In the United States, there's a security certification called High Trust that is an extremely high bar in healthcare. They're having the medical grade device and everything devices have to begin to meet that High Trust certification. But then you go below that and you begin to have consumer grade medical devices. So if the oximeter that Dan talked about earlier is one of those, the blood pressure cuffs you can go into an electronics store and buy is that category. Some watches, but not all watches fall in that category. And then underneath that, you have consumer devices that have medical functions. My watch does some of the same things what Dan was talking about. It will count my steps every day. Also will track my heart rate. It also will track my blood pressure and some other characteristics like that. And then I don't mind it telling me to walk more, but when it's telling me I'm too stressed and my blood pressure's high, I almost think that crosses the line for me with too much information. But begin to look at these devices, and they serve different functions. One of them is an early warning indication, and that's what a lot of the consumer devices are. They're things that are not 100% accurate, so they don't meet the requirements of a medical grade Internet of Things. But they begin to tell you, oh, your heart rate has been high. Your O2 level has fallen from 96% to 90%. And below 96%, you really want to go see your doctor. And they can do other things like that. There are now attachments for your smartphone in that category that will let you blow into them if you have asthma or other conditions to understand the differences. But what's very interesting to me is if I go back 10 years ago, and here in the United States, you'd walk into Best Buy, and they would have hard shelf of Internet of Things type of medical devices. I walk into it today, and they have an entire room. And so you're seeing how this is becoming much more important. It's going into the fitness industry, like Dan said. It's going into the healthcare industry. It's increasingly going into the senior citizen industry, where if I begin to go into a nursing home, they are now using the consumer grade Internet of Things a lot to help track and take residents there. You're now seeing Internet of Things being assigned to a mother when she's pregnant, a way to monitor the baby with putting Internet of Things devices on her stomach and others. You're seeing small children with Internet of Things devices now. Another Internet of Things medical devices is increasingly when you walk into, for example, a public school or some other public facilities. You'll see them doing scans to get your body temperature. You'll see them getting scans to do other things like that. And that's becoming common in airports, in schools, in other places like that. So the use of enhanced Internet of Things is quickly growing. What has not caught up yet is the regulations around particularly the consumer grade medical device, which to meet HIPAA, I have to meet some of these other ISO certifications that the industry still needs to catch up on. But just as a bottom line comment, the Internet of Things devices, the fastest growing segment of the electronic device industry. And it's predicted that by 2025, it will surpass $2.5 trillion in market size. So it is a very large marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent, Professor David. Mr. Dan, because we want to go detail of this topic, so what are the main component of this IoT architect, how it works, and especially how it can be helpful for these healthcare industries. Uh, like already Professor David Smith discussed many points. What is your views?
Yeah, one of the statistics that doesn't get talked about very much is something called iatrogenic, and that means doctor-caused fatalities. It actually mistakes that come from the healthcare world are sometimes as high as the third leading cause of death. In I think in our country it's like 100,000 fatalities a year just from preventable errors that doctors make. You hear these stories about someone goes in and they get the wrong kidney is taken out, or they get they get an amputation, like, oh, that wasn't you, we're sorry. So better tracking of patients, is and procedures and the technologies they're interfacing with. That's all going to improve, hopefully, with Internet of Things. I say hopefully because, with every exposure to the online world, there are malevolent forces that are trying to hack and trying to break into devices, steal information, mess with things. So you really have to just almost assume that you're hacked every day, and just renew your security, just constantly. Do pen testing, which is there's something that's short for penetration testing, which big companies hire people to do that, to see how vulnerable they are with their devices. So that's one way that Internet of Things will hopefully reduce the doctor-caused or hospital-caused fatalities. But I think the other great thing is that people are taking more responsibility for their own healthcare. They're realizing they have to be an active partner, and it's not just their doctor that's going to, fix them like you take your car to the mechanic. You have to know your car. You are the thing you're trying to fix. So it behooves you to be involved in it. And there are lots of interesting kind of homebrew medical technologies that people can access that it's legal to experiment on yourself, just so you don't experiment on anyone else. One of these things is you may have heard of colloidal silver. And so it's a way, silver is a natural element, of course, but when it's dissolved in a very fine colloid in water, it actually becomes a powerful antibiotic, a natural antibiotic. It can kill pathogens. People could put it on infections and wounds and gargle with it. And I just want to say, consult your own doctor. This is not medical advice, but I'm just saying that one branch of medicine that was actually suppressed by the AMA, the pharmaceutical lobby, they practice something called allopathic medicine, which means they basically suppress the symptoms using chemical drugs and pharmaceuticals. There was a couple other approaches to medicine: homeopathy, naturopathy, even electromedicine was. Back in the 1900s, there was a cure for breast cancer, electrified needles in the breast, and there is evidence that very small amounts of electricity can actually deactivate a lot of pathogens in the body. There's technologies you can do at home. They're not invasive. You put some electrodes on your brachial and ulnar artery, and it pulses biphasic DC, because you don't want to get polarization of the skin. But I met an interesting man who was Dr. Bob Beck was his name, and he was the inventor. He held all these patents for the strobe light and for other devices. He was a doctor of physics, not of medicine, but his goal was to give people back their power. He said, you can do these things for pennies, really, at home. And the motto of the medical industry is do no greater harm. For you start with the least aggressive thing that might possibly create a healing process. And if that doesn't work, well, let's try something a little stronger. You shouldn't immediately go to the most invasive, most dangerous procedure. This is the Hippocratic oath that doctors take to become doctors. They say, I swear by all the gods, I will do no greater harm, basically. And so I would just say, look out there. Be wary. There's a lot of quack stuff online too. But if you are careful, you can find some very exciting and very revolutionary devices to address disease situations with. I've strayed a little far from the IoT topic there. I'm sorry, but let me just
Yeah.
throw it
Okay,
back.
it happens sometimes. Madam Aparna, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you. How are you?
Okay, yes, fine. Thank you. Thank you for joining today. We are discussing on IoT for healthcare application. So,
Okay.
so what's your thought and what's going on inside India? Especially the healthcare industry, if you give us some of the experience and explanation.
Um, well, in terms of whether it is IoT or medical, the advancement, there's a lot which is happening in India, and I think India's med tech is essentially going to be taking on further. So I'm not an expert on the subject, but nonetheless, some of the advances that I can see happening are. In terms of how the use of technology is really impacting where medicine is going in terms of whether it is future care or post operative care or post trauma kind of care that's there, or even during the procedures and so on. So I can sort of cite an example of a startup that I was advising, and they were in the medtech industry, and so they were addressing patients post brain stroke, and it's essentially it was something that I think Harvard, the technology had been licensed off or signed off, patentized by the Harvard Medical School as well. And whereby all the details of the person who's gone through a stroke are kind of recorded, and there's a machine which is used to help the patient cope after, or rather recoup after the stroke is has affected the patient and the life. And whereby by just wearing that certain device and controlling all the dynamics or all the data points on through a centralized system somewhere with on the server sitting somewhere else, the entire post trauma kind of care could be taken, and the patient can use those devices as wearable devices and take them home, and are self administrative kind of things. So it's mainly in terms of neurological health, and that was really doing very well in India. It had sort of taken off, and is I guess it's still waiting funding for the next step in India, but otherwise it's doing fairly well. So I can talk about that. I'm not really sure about whether it is IoT related, to be honest. So forgive me on that front. But it's definitely internet, or rather the web is definitely used to sort of address patients and their needs sitting in India through somebody who's sitting in the US, or then somebody who's centrally operating the system at some place or the other. So that's the least that I can kind of contribute here.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jamsit, yes, there are different views and different strategy. What your strategy to improve these IoT sectors, and especially one point come, especially for investment. If you give some of your thoughts on investment, because you are from Silicon Valleys, so what the IoT industry can do.
Yes, because I'm from Silicon Valley, I only think in terms of investment. But as David pointed out, this is a huge market share already, and it's growing at a rapid rate. So this is an opportunity for the young people to think in terms of how do I fit into that new marketplace, and what can I contribute to that new marketplace? What skill set do I need? And to think about that skill set, and then to say, how do I acquire it? And to apply yourself to acquiring the skills that are going to be needed to exploit the opportunities that are going to be out there that weren't out there 20 years ago. and that we may not know what they are in 20 years, but you want to be prepared. You want to be able to have a sufficient skill set to adapt to the new markets that open up. And so that's my first thought in terms of making yourself more useful to society going forward, and to ensure that you have a livelihood, that you can shelter yourself from the storms and feed you and your loved ones. These can be divided into two different problems: the problems of the technology itself and the problems of access to the technology. And now what we want to avoid is the terms of the access to the technology being controlled by a very few. And so if you are a favored few, you will get good information, healthy information to help yourself. And if you aren't, you will get information that says, yeah, increase your salt intake, increase your sugar intake, something like that. And this is a dystopian view, but it is imaginable. It is possible that the control of the information will become a source of danger. But there are so many, I'm so optimistic about this. There's so much information and so many sources of make it available. There will be the good information will be available and will overcome the disinformation that will inevitably be out there as well. And in terms of investment opportunities, you want to be thinking in the future, because you want to say buy low and sell high. That's just so cliche, it's trite. But the thing is if you can anticipate what the future markets will be, then you can actually get in, not necessarily at the ground floor, but very close to the ground floor. And then invest in that and invest in yourself. If you make yourself marketable and you find a team that is clearly oriented towards the similar goals as yourself, you may be able to start up a company of your own that provides something that is of need to society. And then you will find that the rewards come your way. If you are doing the right things for the right reasons, the rewards will follow. This has been my experience, and I think the experience of many. But of course, luck will play a factor. In my own life, I had a brilliant idea, but I was beaten to market by it. And so this will happen to you too, but do not give in to these setbacks. Do not give in to despair. Do not be discouraged. Keep going, keep finding, and keep going in the right direction. And you will eventually be successful in making yourself and your loved ones happy, content. And this is the goal. It is not to make billions and to be able to have more control than anyone else. It is to make your life, to be able to lead a life of quiet dignity rather than quiet desperation, which so many of us do. So these are the things that I want people to focus on. The opportunities are there, and there are, if you prepare yourself to have the skill set necessary for how they change, that you could adapt to them. You will be one of the few that is adaptable to the situations as they arise in the future and be able to take advantage of them. And this will, if you focus not only on the technology itself, but who has access to it, because that access is a great need. Because what we were talking about now is like, if we have Bluetooth access, then we can share all this information. Well, what if you don't have Bluetooth access? What if you are the one who creates a new way for people to have access to this information, and that it's cheap and affordable and can be distributed throughout the world? Then you will be a hero. You will not necessarily be the richest person in the world, but you will be a hero to the world. And I think that is what I would like to say is the motivation behind all of these things, is how do you make the planet better? Ask not what the planet can do for you, but what you can do for the planet. Thanks, Sharif.
Thank you. Professor David Smith, as you are expert of technology, there are one question that what are some protocol used for IoT communications? If you share with our audience, maybe they can understand more. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I was going to already make a comment of that after the excellent comments I just finished, is that you see Bluetooth on some of these are more the lower end consumer devices. But as you begin to go up higher into the medical stack, one of the most common radio protocols used is something called Zigbee. Zigbee is like a much stronger Bluetooth, but also much more secure with built-in encryption and other things as part of it. You also see many medical devices, Internet of Things devices that use Wi-Fi various stages. And the Wi-Fi 6 protocols that is in proposal coming out right now actually has some special protocols set across in it for our medical devices. So you're seeing that in there as well. In some instances, you see some other radio protocols that are being used, but this is more in very specialized medical devices that you would typically see in a hospital, and ones that an average consumer will work. But I'd like to also jump on a little bit of what was said in that talk about, as an entrepreneur, what you want with the Internet of Things and medical devices. If you are writing software for Internet of Things, for medical Internet of Things, your time to market is important. But when I begin to go to the device side of Internet of Things, if I am doing it for a consumer device, you have to also look at the certifications and make sure those and build those into your development time. If I am actually building Internet of Things devices as a hospital quality, as a doctor's office quality device, you have to build not only certification, but testing in for those. They have to be approved in ministry to be able to be used on humans. So in your entrepreneur studies, and as you raise money for this, software is fast, consumer devices are slow, medical devices are much slower. So you have to factor that into as you raise money. And there is a lot of money out in the marketplace today, the medical device side. The medical industry, because of COVID and the continuing monitoring that has to be done, it's going to be a very big growth market. Let me give you a quick example. My company, ETT, we recently acquired a telemedicine company. You know, one of the companies that the doctor comes to your computer. When we acquired the company, they did not have Internet of Things interfaced into their telemedicine platform. One of the meetings I'm having tomorrow is with that saying, okay, now where are we on integrating Internet of Things into your products? Where can we see the blood pressure? Where can we see these other things coming from your remote patients using, for the most part, consumer-grade Internet of Things devices? The other company I'm visiting with actually later today is we've acquired a company in the hospitality industry, and we're partnering with the third largest hospitality operator in the world, not only this other company's software into the market, but we're taking Internet of Things medical devices into hotels. We're using them for temperature sensing. We're using them to put ultraviolet lights in the rooms to kill germs as you're staying in the hotels and the resorts. And those devices are Internet of Things devices again, too. So it's a very dynamic marketplace, but one that, as we have acquired companies and done joint ventures with others, an Internet of Things strategy has to be part of acquisitions today in healthcare or in hospitality. So it's one of those areas with a lot going on, but I can tell you it's one of our checkpoints on whether we're going to invest money or not.
Excellent. Mr. Dan, if you add some challenges with IoT industries, those who are working in healthcare facilities and these things. So if you introduce some challenges and how we can solve these challenges as well.
Well, one thing I've noticed kind of I used to be involved with the University of California at Irvine doing public affairs radio, and I would hang out there. They had a salvage yard where a lot of the equipment went to be resold to the public. And there was a guy there, John Silva, who worked at, I think, Beckman Instruments. And he said, you know why this piece is here? You know how much it costs to calibrate this thing? I would go in, I'd charge like $3,000 and it's got to be calibrated like every year. And like, that's why this is a perfectly good machine. But, you know, the calibration is so expensive on it. So this is something that hospitals have to factor in. And, you know, I also know that their staff have certifications which have to be maintained, and you can't let your certification expire, because then you got to retake the whole certification protocol. So, you know, just using the internet and digital technology to keep track of calibration cycles and certification cycles for personnel, you know, this is a huge, actually, market. You know, there's a position I was almost going to get called the CTEP coordinator for the 29 Palms military installations. That was Comprehensive Education and Training Protocol, CTEP. So it was basically, they had this huge staff of people, all these certifications, and no one was keeping track of who's expiring and who needs to take an update, a refresher class, etc. So, and you know, this is going on all around the world, not just in medicine. I mean, we have all kinds of calibrations and certifications that are constantly, you know, on the verge of expiring and need to be renewed. And so that's kind of an IoT issue a little bit. But I think, you know, standardized testing is going to become much more interesting, especially as we learn about the biochemistry of aging. You know, there's something called DNA methylation. And it's a way that the molecules that make up your DNA, they actually get methyl groups attached to them. And this doesn't destroy the DNA, but it affects its effectiveness in rebuilding cells and conducting cellular processes. And there's actually a standardized DNA methylation test. I think it's called the Hiscox clock, the epigenetic clock. So this is of great interest to transhumanists who are involved in indefinite longevity or super longevity or life extension, life expansion. And, you know, especially with the whole pandemic, you know, Pandora's box that seems to be unleashed. You know, it seems like when one variant is detected, there's another one that's even more strange. So we really are in kind of a biochemical race. You know, you've got CRISPR, which is a way that people can do gene modification basically with $1,000 kit in their garage. You know, they can make new life forms. So it's a lot of very, you know, interesting technology is spread around the world, and we're going to have all kinds of countermeasures and health measures to keep up with it. One interesting thing is hyperbaric oxygen. You know, there's a study that shows your telomeres, which are the little clock that tell your cells how many times they can divide. They are actually seen to lengthen when people go into one of these chambers and they get oxygen at above atmospheric pressure. There's an interesting Israeli study. I think it was showing something like 30% lengthening of the chromosome telomeres, which, you know, the average cell gets about I think it's 7 or 8 divisions, and then it just the telomere tells it to stop doing that. But you know, actually, if you go online, there's people that tell you how to build your own hyperbaric chamber at home. I mean, they're very expensive if you buy them. They're, you know, 5-digit, you know, $30,000 machines, but there's ways to get the same effect, kind of a DIY thing for maybe about $1,000. So, you know, not all these health revolutions are out of reach for the developing world. There are ways we can share all this stuff, and we can all become healthier as a planet, and that should be our goal.
Excellent. Mr. Shankar, we are discussing on IoT for healthcare applications. What's going on inside your Global Chamber of Commerce?
Well, lots are happening. I came across what is called information medicine, not telemedicine, information medicine, which means certain algorithms can calculate your aura. the the aura of a person from a distance. And what happens is that each one of us has lost the attunement with our basic essence. We were all healthy as children simply because the frequency was just right. Now, with sophisticated systems, they can scan your aura from a distance, given your photograph. It doesn't matter where you are. And certain vibrations can be beamed to set the aura back, because you know, everything said, the body is a physical manifestation of the mind and the spirit. So all along we've been focusing on the body, thinking that's where the problem is. It's just like AI, where you take in certain impressions of the quality of air, the water, the impressions, the nature around. Everything is having a subconscious effect on you, and that is generating disalignment. For that matter, what's very interesting is when you sit on certain of these machines, it'll put you back in track, and your essence, the childhood energy comes back to you, which means you will even start seeing coincidences happen to you just normally. Now, when you say, why is it that I'm manifesting something, is because we got disaligned. And all and everything now can be imprinted and sent across. Let's say a certain imprint of your physical form is on a paper and is sent, and you put it against water. You know about that doctor who experiments in water and imprinting? The same goes for everything else, that you can have a certain calculation put inside your particular water, and that becomes the medicine without ever exchanging anything through courier service or nothing. Information can pass through and become a medicine for anybody on the planet. And that's what I'm trying to find out more in depth and see how this can integrate and really solve the challenges. So I think it's Elon Musk who says that, tell me energy, vibration, and frequency, and I'll tell you the secret of the universe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Aparna, can you hear me?
Hi, Sharif. I can hear you. I just got logged off sometime back. I think the network is a problem.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Okay, Madam Aparna, especially I'm interested about women entrepreneurs. Do you have any idea that the women in India, those who are engaging with entrepreneurship, like they are developing any solution for IoT industries or something?
I'm afraid, that's a subject I really don't know much about.
Okay,
So I
okay,
will
no
not be
problem,
able to
no
comment.
problem. Like
I'd
you,
rather listen to the eminent speakers than, talk something that's I'm out of depth with. So.
okay, okay, no problem, no problem. Mr. Shankar, you want to add some point with Madam Aparna, because I'm very interested if there are some startup or entrepreneurs from India.
Yes. I have one of my associates designing this, what do you call, the CAT scanners and all of them, which is very, very huge and bulky. He has created a portable scanner to be used by sportsmen or anybody offline, wherever they are working. If there is a injury, this can immediately track. It's just a handheld stuff. And I think he's won a lot of awards for this. And we are trying to a little bit take it to the next TRL, technology readiness level, and how we can use it. And we're trying to use Global Chamber and see through our 525 networks to help this technology. So this is a handheld CAT scanner. It pretty much does all of that, what it does, but not exactly. But at least if there is a sports injury on the floor, and until he reaches the hospital, he's pretty much all right to understand, is it a real big problem or is it a very dangerous acute situation. So he's got these beamers and beeps on it, and it kind of classifies it. Very interesting product. And there are tons of this. Aparna, I think you said about a certain medical technology that you're in touch with, that you're working with.
Yes, Shankar. In fact, I was sharing it with Sharif before you could join in. It was about this post brain
Yeah.
stroke kind of patients and rehabilitation of these patients. Post that. I was telling them it's a wearable device which has all the essentials of the recordings of the brain, and parameters are all listed out and monitored, and post that every step of the rehabilitation. So the machine kind of, you wear that device, and the patient is, or the person who's caring for that patient is able to monitor the health, and is able to kind of help that patient get out of that, or rather get into a rehabilitative kind of a mode, and help that patient with all the necessary therapies and treatments required. And the machine monitors the patient, and the changes that are happening in the brain, and the brain cycles, etc. And that is where the whole technology aspect comes in, because again, like I said, the details and the parameters of this of the patient are centrally recorded, and they're maintained
Thank,
those details are readily available.
thank you, Mr. James. It. Yes.
Thank you, Sharif. Yeah, I do want to thank Shankar, because I've been missing Didi, who I often talk about this type of thing, and with is that there is no matter how much we know, we only know a little, and we focus our medical attention on the animal husk part of the human being, and there's mind, body, and essence. And spirituality is part of that, and these are represented in our auras, and there is a way to detect them, and humans are much better at detecting them if they have trained themselves to detect them than machines are at this point. Although I do believe that machines will be able to detect this, they can be photographed apparently, and so it is possible that we will make a lot of progress in that area if we put our attention to it. But in the Western world, that is not something that is monetarized and therefore has no intrinsic value. Um, but it does have it if you want to really talk about the health of a person. And it is true, there's a Pink Floyd song, "Comfortably Numb." You're only coming through in waves, and it is what Musk was referring to. If you could understand the intensity and frequency of the waves, that would be uh, true information. And that kind of thing, I think, is one of the things that we can make a tremendous amount of progress if we really were applying our knowledge-based society in that direction. But let's take it back to what the Western world values, and that is, how do you make this kind of thing marketable? How do you kind of make this kind of thing make money? And if you're starting out in this area, which is the Internet of Things in terms of health, um, in terms that we understand in the Western world, how to treat the animal husk that surrounds our core being, how do we make that healthy? Well, whatever you're thinking of, you what you do is you make a budget and you plan out how much it's going to cost, how much it's going to time before you can get to market. And my advice is always take the amount of time that you think and the amount of money that you cost. Let's just say it's $100 and 100 days. That's going to cost me $100 and 100 days to get to market. Well, it's not going to be 100 days. You're going to run into unnecessary obstacles, total bureaucratic red tape, total things that make no sense, are not logical, and you wouldn't anticipate them. So make it 150 days. And so that makes your basic cost 150. Well, it's not going to cost you 150. It's going to cost you, add one half of that to it, so it's plus 75. So it's going to cost $225. Because if you're going to start out with 100 days and $100, and you're going to go $100, you're going to raise $100. You will need $225. You will not be successful to get to market. So always factor in these unnecessary, unpredictable delays, these unnecessary and unpredictable costs to whatever you're doing, and factor that in and raise that amount of money before you embark on your endeavor. Because it's always going to be more expensive and take longer than you think, and it will make no sense to you and it will frustrate you, but that is inevitably what will happen. And if you do that, then you will be prepared to make whatever it is that you have developed available to all, which should be, in my worldview, the goal, to make it available. Not necessarily, and if it makes you money, great. It should make you money. If you developed it, you definitely should. It's nothing wrong with making money. Absolutely, you should share in the benefits that you provide, but it should be based on providing benefits. Because if you're only making money, then that makes no one healthier. You cannot eat money. You cannot drink money. And I wanted to go back to something that Dan was talking about earlier about silver. I don't know if this is true, but there is a school of thought that says that, the royalty were the only ones that could eat off of silver, with silver tools and implements. And that they were absorbing a little bit of silver, and that helped them make themselves healthier. But also you have to realize that the royalty could live apart from where the people were getting sick. They weren't exposed as often too. So there may be something to the silver or not, but that's why I say we only know, no matter how much we know, we only know a little, because we're just making tremendous advances now on how our gut bacteria affects our overall health. People say now we have two minds. One is in our brain and the other is in our gut. And the bacteria, the health in our gut, will affect our overall health and our overall brain functioning. And if we pay more attention to eating well and having healthy bacteria in our systems so that we process the nutrients effectively and efficiently, our health will improve. We will take better care of ourselves, and our autoimmune systems will be stronger. So then when we do encounter disease, which we inevitably will, we will be more capable of fighting it off. So these are the things I want to emphasize, that you start with yourself. Start with yourself. Make yourself healthy as you can. And just find out information at how you do that. So eat well, sleep well. These are the things that are important for your personal health. And then when you have to go to a medical facility for something that you cannot do for yourself, such as an operation, such as an intrusive thing into your heart, for example, how far have we gone? Would you want the best heart surgeon of the 1920s working on you, or the average one working on you now in 2020s? Of course, we would want the average heart doctor working on us now, because we know so much more. All of these advances are to be applauded. And, we are being able to extend our lifespan. We are being able to cure things that we could not cure before. But all this progress has to be centered on what is it that we're trying to accomplish. And that is to make more people live better lives longer, so that they can be productive and live lives of dignity. And if we can make more people have that experience, then we can rest easy at night, and we will not be troubled by our worries and our woes as much as we are today. And our society will be less uptight and tense and subject to blaming others for our problems. So thanks, Sharif, for a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor David Smith. Can you unmute, please? Professor David, can you unmute, please? Yes. Professor, we cannot hear you clearly.
We may have lost his Bluetooth or
Yes.
something.
Yes. I
You're
think
muted again, David.
Could I just add on
Okay.
something to what James
Okay.
said?
Yeah.
We can't hear you, David. I think Dan might be right.
Sorry,
He might
sorry.
not.
Yes, yes. I think he's driving.
He needs to reconnect his Bluetooth or something. It doesn't.
Yes, I think he has to reconnect his Bluetooth.
Uh, if
Mr.
I
This
could
is
Dan,
the
you
just,
Internet
continue.
of Things.
if I could just add on something, great insights there, James. I think the ultimate health goal is to live a life that you truly love. Because it's not just about quantity of life; it's got to be about quality of life. And
Mhm.
like Elon Musk said, you should want to bound out of bed in the morning because you're so excited to go get on with what you're exploring and what you're curious about. And that really is the ultimate health hack, is to have that kind of blissful, fully alive life. But it's a more mundane one. Speaking of bed, most people are sleep deprived and most people are chronically underhydrated. So
Mhm.
while you're bounding out of bed in the morning, make sure that it was a darkened bed, that you wasn't any light shining on you, because your pineal gland can actually pick up light, very small light sources even around you. So sleeping in total darkness is a very good health hack. And then drink a bunch of water. Drink a liter and a half of water when you get up. You might not crave coffee so much, or it might kind of get you on a good track for the whole day. So there's a simple hack for sleep deprivation and chronic dehydration. And I wrapped up bounding out of bed there. maybe David has fixed his audio.
Mhm. Yes,
Oh,
Professor David Smith.
maybe not. Maybe not.
Yes, I can understand he's driving.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to distract him too much. He's
Yes,
traffic.
yes, yes. I understand. As he's driving, yes,
Hey, keep your eye on the road, David. That's okay. I know
yes,
you
no
wanted to
problem.
say something very important
Yes,
that all of us needed to hear, but
yes, definitely,
safety first.
definitely.
And
Yes,
could I
definitely.
comment also on what Shankar was talking about, the information
Yes,
medicine? That,
yes.
that is that is a huge topic, and it's so neglected by Western establishment schools of thought. But uh, there are effects that we don't understand. There are subtle energies, and in fact, you can get a patent for something even if the mechanism of how it works is not known. Just if you can demonstrate, here's the device, and here it's doing what it says it does, they have to grant a patent. You don't have to have a fully explained mechanism of action, I think they call it. And
Mm-hmm.
we are water beings on a water planet, and water seems to be this amazing material that has the ability to be infused with structure and intention, and we're really not exploring that as much as we could. There's a book called, I think, the Hidden Life of Water, by a Japanese scientist. I'm blanking on his name, but you can Google that. And that's, you look at holy water and healing fountains. There's a huge tradition of healing and water and intention. I mean, that is a whole college level course that could be explored. And I think that's how these homeopathic preparations work, because they are so diluted they could not possibly have more than a molecule or two of the original substance. But what they have is the information structure that has been transmitted in these homeopathic remedies. And of course, this sounds like quackery and all kinds of tinfoil hatism to the Western mind, but you can't argue with evidence. Follow the science. That's what we have to commit ourselves to doing. No matter how much we don't have a fully explained mechanism, we can still follow the evidence. We can follow. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Emoto was the name of the
Mm-hmm.
water
Mm-hmm.
scientist.
Mr. Shankar, Mr. Shankar, yeah.
Yes, I take it from Dan about water itself that human beings are 70% water, and we vibrate according to the atmosphere. There is a research that went on to say that you're watching the wrong kind of movies, and there's a connection between children's video games and what they turn out to be in life, the crime. And on the other side, you listen to Bach and Vivaldi, and your learning curve simply shoots up. It, it's what's called super learning. and you immerse yourself in an atmosphere of goodness, cheer, great vibrational music, and everything, every small thing is a data point that is triggering off emotions and triggering off decision making. And that explains why, even if in the prime of health, you can make a wrong decision based on an information.
Mhm.
So, information and decisions and what you're exposed to is very crucial. So, they say whom you spend time with is very important. Who are your friends? And I would say, just to end the conversation as a remarking lines, that it's really a privilege to be on this forum. And thank you, Professor Sharif, for creating this
Thank you.
wonderful. Because I look forward to these events because this is one of the high points to be amongst the best of best. And I congratulate everybody who's listening to us because for me, it's just to be in the vicinity of the great people is enough because I'm exposing myself to some higher intelligence, which is the purpose, not just of health, but of regeneration. We could be much better than who we are, provided we can change the influence we put ourselves under.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. You are also valuable for us. Actually, all of the speaker, all of our members, we feel as a family, and that's why even we are moving. So even now we are uh, getting invitations and getting support from different corporation, government, and academia. But I feel good because this is actually team effort. It's not individually my achievement; it's your achievements, and this is people organization. I always say talent economy. It's a people organization. Those who join in our discussion, all of you are talents, all of you have excellent experience, so your experience actually priceless, and this priceless experience valuable for the global community, valuable for the youth community, and that is the way actually Asia Pacific, even Malaysian government, even today I get call from the Thailand governments and many government, they are thinking that what we are doing, this is actually helpful for our community. So that's why I request all of the audience share our content as much as possible. It's not that I want more publicity. That is the things I ensure with our teammates, that we are developing a value based community, we are developing a knowledge based communities, and those who have critical mind, innovative mind, and they may solve many problems. So as a team, maybe we can solve many interesting things. And I believe, let's say Malaysia government, they believe that we can contribute. They are developing a resilient Malaysia. So now World Talent Economy Forum contributing. So I love to even join in India. Maybe India can develop the resilient India after this COVID-19. We can contribute through our business networks, through our academic network, through our global networks. So this is the way we will improve. Even we never know. Maybe in one point we can help even, and we can work with USA and the developed nations. So this is the open minds. We have to be open mind, and we have to be very much friendly for collaborative approach. We have to create win-win situation. This is not for personal like benefit. This is for global benefit, I believe, and this is possible. As a team, if we move forward, maybe today we discuss about IoT, tomorrow we will discuss about climate change, then we discuss about food security. So this is not only discussion, we are taking action, and based on the actions, we can solve and we can help the local community. So I know all of you are brilliant people, all of you have excellent thoughts, and our audience, they are really great. Even maybe actually we are human. Maybe color wise we are different, maybe culture wise we are different, but we have some same feelings as a human, as a talent. So thank you everyone for joining today's sessions. Thank you our audience for your continuous support for World Talent Economy Forum. Every day we are improving, we are getting involved with different countries. So I want more support, maybe from USA, maybe from Transhumanist Party, maybe from GM, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe. Everywhere we need support, we need collaborations, and we need uh, real knowledge. And with this knowledge, I think I can solve many problems. One thing I just want to add the final thought, because today I feel very bad. I am not against any political party. I do not want to go against anything. But one for a point, my father before my died, he said that education is the key, and education is your best friend. Everyone want to do competition with you. Only your parents and your teacher, these are the two group of people, they never compete with you. So that's why I believe that all of you are our board of advisor in, and you are my mentor and my community's mentor. But I feel very bad when actually Taliban government, they said that we do not believe in PhD and master's degree holders. I'm sorry, I'm a practicing Muslim, and I read Quran regularly, and the Quran start with Iqra Bismillah Rabbikallazi Khalaq. Read your uh, like read your Allah, read your, and Quran basically focus on knowledge. Quran desperately focus on knowledge. Every part of the Quran you can find, it's a written things. They focus on knowledge. When actually Muslim actually lost their credibility, when they uh, uh, like mm, like uh, they when they miss their point of education, research, and everything. So we need to be more focused on education. We need to be more focused on knowledge and everything. So I'm very sorry when the Taliban government say that. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm not a political person, but I'm sorry. I'm big fan of educations, and I saw many of my students how they change only because of education. I know my student, they do not have any chair and table. Only I support them and give them proper education. Now they are leading multinational company, they are managing director of the big corporations. So I believe education is the key. Do not misguide it to the people, to the Muslim, like based on Quran and Sunnah, and what is actually meaningful, not meaningful, it's actually meaningless. So I request everyone, focus on education, focus on research. It's not only Muslim world, it's not only Jewish or Christian or Hindu. We are human. So as a human, we need to be more focused on education. As a human, we have to be more focused on research. As a human, we have to be more focused on knowledge-based ecosystem. That's why we are developing talent economy. And any part of the world, if any organizations and the political party or any people, they are creating problem uh, against educations, at least World Talent Economy Forum, they raise their voice, because education is the key. Even you can see our last Monday sessions, we are creating, yes, we are lobby, we are creating a relationship with the youth community and the talented people. Mr. Shankar was there. We want one education policy. This is not the way of improvement. Like example, someone involved with religious education system, someone involved with regular education system, national curriculum, and someone involved with elite group of peoples, or uh, international curriculum. This is not the way of improvement. We have to work as a team. Yes, uh, I strongly believe those who join in World Talent Economy Forum, they're big fan of educations. So I request everyone, do not misguide your nation, do not misguide your people. Religion is not like that. Religion is not like that. Religion for peace, religion for knowledge, religion for truth. And as a practicing Muslim, I never believe that PhD holder and master's holders, degree holder, they are not useful. We saw many people, they are helpful. I saw Dr. Muhammad Yunus, he finished PhD and then he developed this Grameen Bank and become a big contributor for their economy. I saw Dr. Fazle Hassan Abed, after getting the PhD, he contributed a lot with the BRAC. And I'm sure even the India has some great example and great experience. So I request everyone, focus on education. Do not politicize the educations. Do not create some misguide or anything for our youth communities, because in Asia Pacific, 60% youth, I know 40% population live in Asia Pacific. This is the energy for us. So even I request global community, do not invest for wire. Do not invest your hard-earned money for wire and this and that. Invest in education. Your request your this is your tax paying money, right? So do not misutilize it for the other countries. I do not think that Afghanistan now is a good place or good example. So I do not against any political party. I respect all of the political party, but please be respectful for education, be respectful for the youth community. And you people are the leaders for World Talent Economy Forum. Please support our initiative and support the youth and create a better ecosystem, knowledge-based ecosystem for our youth communities. So thank you everyone for today's discussion. I'm little bit of emotional when I see that there is a educational barriers, because when any communities, they want to destroy their social ecosystem, first they attract the education first and fast. So I do not like it. I'm with the academia. I'm with this intellectual communities. Academy does not mean that you are only PhD holder, you are enough. No, I know from industry there are many experienced people. So we need to work with academy, with government, and with industry. Thank you everyone for your excellent contributions. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. Sorry, I take some times, because World Talent Economy Forum with the academic activities, we are strongly believe in education. So I believe this is a barrier and we do not like it. And this is extremely like bad analysis and bad example for the Quran never said knowledge is not available. Quran always emphasize on knowledgeable person. Even Islamic history, we check, all of the knowledgeable person actually contributing. Only the rich people, they are not contributing. So please do not misutilize religion. Sorry, I give some different thoughts, but today's it's really it's a bad example for our community. Mr. Shankar, what's your concluding remarks today?
I totally agree that education has been the religion, and education will be the religion of a global economy. And no matter what happens, it is constant and never-ending improvement that I believe in. That whatever needs to happen, we need to be adaptable to the new changes and all inclusive. The question of why and how will always remain. And it's like the fish who walked on water, on land. We have been given a chance each time to evolve. And evolve means to love. And that's what we are trying to do. And the highest of highest education is simply teaching us how to love and how to connect with various citizens of the world. You educate your mind and you educate your heart. And that's what will bring us all closer to each other. The biggest puzzle in the world is what is making people differentiate each other is the animal nature. What's the possibility for human beings is to become 100% human. And what is the possibility beyond that is to become superhuman, which means you're becoming very sacred, spiritual person. The whole process on the earth is this: how a caterpillar will come to fly. The butterfly will tell you how it happened. There is struggle, yes, but we don't have to give up. We got to have the end in mind. And education teaches a lot. What I learned in school is not just physics, chemistry, maths, biology. I learned a lot outside in the campus. How to be a team worker, how to be focused, how to aim, how to include every child, doesn't matter which culture, which family background. We have a great connect. When I see IoT, it's great. It's a technology connecting each other. And as human beings, if we can really tune into each other, we will see the brilliance. We see the sun outside, it rises. I say when education happens, the sun inside will rise. And I end that conversation today with these words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jamesid.
Thank you, Sharif. As I always say, I always learn something on these shows, and I always take notes. So I remember to steal something like planetary fitness from Dan and many other things that have been said. It's too bad that David's car wouldn't support him and let him continue on, because I'm always learning something from him. It's wonderful to be on with Shankar. I really just enjoy these experiences, and education is definitely one of the things that you focus on and remind us all the need for. So my tip of the hat to you, Sharif, for doing that. It's quite a service that you provide. And the question of religion, I am not religious, but I am spiritual, and I think that this is the focus that has made a big difference in my life. And I don't follow a particular religion, but I do appreciate the wisdom in many of them, and most of them, if not all. And there is wisdom to be found, and the wisdom is different than intelligence. But I definitely don't. I think it's a combination of the two, the balance of the three: your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Your core being, your core essence. And if you have them balanced, then you are a healthy human being. And if you favor one over the other, then you're going to be imbalanced and off center. And this is not going to be your best. And we all want to be the best that we can be, given our limitations, whatever those limitations are. And I also want to encourage people to not give into despair, because you will face obstacles. It's inevitable, but you can overcome them. Most of them can be overcome. And those that cannot be overcome must be endured. And you can endure them. There's no reason to give up hope and to cling to hope. But our education system here in the West is based on a 19th century agrarian society, which no longer exists. So we do teach music, but we don't, it isn't helpful the way we teach it. We're not teaching people to appreciate Bach and Vivaldi, the concertos or the Four Seasons, or these are not the things we're teaching in a rote method, because we are adapting to create people to go into jobs that are like assembly line jobs. And so, these are inhumane jobs. And so we want to create jobs that are humane, and then train people so that they can perform those jobs, those humane jobs, so they can be truly human and not just a substitute for a machine. Stamp here, stamp here, stamp here, stamp here. This is not a humane job. This is not what we want to, even if it's cost effective for a factory. It's not humane, and we want to make sure that we're humane. So my dedication is to bringing chess into schools to teach our youngs, because we always underestimate the young. They can absorb so much more knowledge than we give them credit for. And in chess, we teach them to sit still and think, to postpone immediate gratification, to plan, to make decisions. And some of the classes that we do teach them don't teach any of that. And the skill set that we give them when we teach them to play chess, a game, they think they're at recess, but they're learning these skills that are directly transferable back into their classroom, directly applicable to whatever job they take. We're not trying to make them grandmasters of chess. We're teaching them to sit still and think, to postpone immediate gratification, and to plan strategically, to make good decisions, to think, if I do this, someone else might do that, and I might have to adjust on the fly. And these are the types of skills that we want to educate our children. We want to focus how we train them, how we educate them, and to give them the most choice, the most opportunities. Whatever opportunities appear in their lives, they are prepared to seize them, to take them, and make the best of them. So this is the goal of education, is not to make me no more than you, but is to help all of us become more human, more fundamentally human. And this is the goal of my foundation, and it was to dedicate my life. And I find like minds on your shows, Sharif. So I tip my hat to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dan.
Well, I know we started off talking about wellness and IoT, but I would say, instead of an Internet of Things, maybe we have a Internet of loving elements. Maybe that's actually what the universe is. And it's an experiment in compassion and taking care of each other and wellness. So it kind of does, it all circles back there. And I really enjoy getting to come here and hang out with all you great folks. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. This is actually excellent discussion. Thank you everyone for joining today's session, especially Mr. Shankar. Thank you for your continuous support. for World Talent Economy Forum. Beside that, Mr. James Eid and Mr. Dan, thank you for your support and everything. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible. And I know Mr. Shankar, Mr. James, Mr. Dan, all of you are influentials in your community. Please share our content. We need more viewers. We need more subscriber. We need more people, those who can support us, those who can work with our team. So thank you everyone for joining today's sessions. Bye-bye and take care.
All right.